Good evening. Good evening. I hope you've had a great Monday. And of course, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. And as usual, it's 7 p.m. on Monday. And we have a very interesting show tonight. It's one I've been looking forward to. And it's going to take us back to the garden. It's really important because gardening, we've talked about it on a number of other shows. Dr. Palmer mentioned it in the context of kids. You know, if you have them grow their vegetables, you know, they'll start to like them, and it'll be something that they'll start to eat more vegetables. And so gardening is important, but I think it goes far beyond that. In my practice, I'm starting to emphasize gardening for a lot of great reasons. And, you know, we're going to get into many aspects of gardening. Part one, we're going to have a gardener who's from Fort Worth. She grew up gardening. And so she has done this for a long time. And so she's doing it for personal pleasure. However, she does, you know, give pointers to neighbors and the like. And we want to get her experience with gardening, a lifelong gardener. Part two is going to be a local gardener who does it a bit more professionally. She has been gardening for 6 years, not all of it. So she went into it late in her career. And she's been doing it for this period of time. She has become a master gardener. She now builds gardens for people in the community. So she runs a small little farm in the area. So we're going to give you two wonderful perspectives of gardening. But I want you to take what I want you to take away from this episode is: one, gardening is fun. Two, gardening is beneficial and helpful. But three, gardening is essential. In my opinion, I've come to the opinion that we, from as part of our standard health practice, need to be to grow our own food. Now, everybody doesn't live on a half acre of land or whatever the case is. You may only have a back patio or front patio, whatever the case may be. But there are different tips that you can take for gardening. You're putting seed in the soil, putting in a windowsill or your front porch or back porch. Start wherever you are, because this is an important thing. And we're going to talk about this. So today's episode is going to get into the nuts and bolts of gardening. But we're going to be talking about gardening a lot in future episodes and looking at the scientific aspect of it and the health benefits aspect of it long term. So it's going to be a big, fun adventure tonight, but also long term. Before I go on, I want to welcome Celeste. How are you doing, Celeste?
I'm good. I'm excited about the talk tonight.
Yeah, likewise. You know, we had Celeste and I are both in Houston. We had quite a bit of rain this weekend, and you know, we both have some plants in the dirt and that type of thing. And so my plants have done pretty well. I harvested turnip greens and that type of thing. So I guess yours are faring well too, right?
They look good, and I actually need to ask one of the gardeners tonight. I'll have aphids, which, you know, are one of the issues that occur with the garden. So just want to learn how to prevent that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we've got a lot of information to cover. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce our first guest. Miss Judy Hill is from Fort Worth, Texas. I'm going to scan. I have information on her from a local newspaper that did a wonderful write-up. You know, she's been gardening all of her life. She's it states that she had worked for the Fort Worth Water Department for more than 13 years. She worked for the T as a bus operator. She always wanted to store her own. And so when the Red Barn on Meadowbrook Drive became available, she took advantage of this, and she thought it was the perfect place to start to store her own food. Now, of course, she had a background in gardening. She was asked what would she change if she could. She says, never, without a pause, not a thing. I've enjoyed every minute. So, you know, she acquired this barn after working for 13 years at the water department, and she started gardening. She is a lifelong East Side girl, a graduate of Dunbar High School. She's been a member of the St. Matthew Missionary Baptist Church for 40 years and has been married to Alan for more than 20 years. She's a true asset to the community of Hanley. Now, on the other subjects, Handy Garden Club would be like a welcome to another new member, Ann Williams, et cetera, et cetera. So she's part of the Handy Garden Club. She does a lot in the community, and she grows fruits, veggies, herbs, and we're going to see some of the things that she grows. And she does a wonderful job working with people in the community in Handy. So without further ado, Ms. Hill, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm fine. And everyone else?
We're doing just fine. Thank you. So, I've got these images you sent me, and they are just simply beautiful. I'm going to share my screen real quick and share it with the world. But so we're looking here, and I'm just going to get into it. But when you and I talk, we've had several conversations on the phone, and you said you've been gardening since you were young. Is that correct?
It is correct. My mother was a gardener, and I guess I just inherited from her over 40 years ago.
Wow. Now, did you grow up? You grew up in the Fort Worth area?
Fort Worth, born and raised.
Wow. So, what did y'all live on? Like a large piece of land? Was it a small garden or a farm, or what? What was your experience like growing up?
It was a small backyard garden.
Wow. Wow. So basically it's a family gardening. Now, where'd your mother get the gardening from? Did she grow up in the country, as they say?
Yeah, she did. Down in Texas, Lindale, Texas.
I've heard of Lindale, Texas.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about your experience gardening. You started as a little girl. I guess, your mother, was it something that you did not like doing and your mother forced you to do it and you acquired a liking, or was it something that you enjoyed all along?
I enjoyed it from day one.
And how old were you again?
Probably about 13 or 14 years old.
Wow. Now, growing up, tell us about this garden. How much would y'all rely on the garden? Did y'all eat a significant amount of food from your backyard garden?
Yes, we did.
So you didn't have to, so I take it growing up, you didn't have to shop in the produce section of the grocery store too much.
Not much. Over 50% we ate out of the garden.
Wow. Wow. That's impressive. Now, fast forward to now, and I take it you've gardened all your adult life. What percentage of what you eat out of your garden currently?
Probably 50%.
50%.
Things that I enjoy eating, the greens, the corn, and the okra, the tomatoes, the squash, different kinds of squash, all kind of herbs.
Gotcha. And we're going to look at some of that as we go forward. In fact, I'm going to remove this slide. So the herbs and things that you grow, do you do, I imagine your neighbors are always looking over at your garden or coming over and wanted to learn some of your secrets. I mean, you work with your neighbors very much or friends, or do you hold classes, or what do you currently do?
I get questions daily. How to do this, what to do with this, and how you get yours to grow, and what do I need to do to make mine. And so, yes, I get a lot of questions.
So if we were, and I'm going to get into some of the things that you're growing in a minute. So we get I have a number of patients, of course, who come in, and I'm always telling them to garden, and I get every excuse from A to Z. Obviously, you can start with where you are. What would you say are the top, 3 or 5 benefits to garden? Why, if I'm walking to you and you say, look, Montgomery, you need to start gardening, and I would ask you why. What question would you? What's the benefit of gardening other than the fact that you, Miss Judy Hill, like it? Why should I garden, or why should we tell our audience to garden? From your opinion.
My opinion would be, if you would want a true taste, flavor, texture of a true vegetable or herb, you grow it, because you know what you're growing it in, and you know everything about what you've done to it, and there's no guessing about what you buy out of the grocery stores.
Gotcha. So basically, you know what it is you're growing. Go ahead, Celeste.
Do you use your own seeds from season to season? Are you going to the store to get seeds? How do you get ready for the next season, and where are you getting your seeds for the next season?
From seeds that I get from my previous plants.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you know how to seed. That's one thing. You know, I buy all my seeds, and I guess I cheat, but I guess a real gardener knows how to seed. So
But it's not cheating. You can get some real good seeds from a good company that
gotcha.
that have good seeds.
What do you have any recommendations on companies? That's the little bit tricky sometimes with the seeds being genetically modified now. Also, do you have recommendations?
Well, you asked the question, and I could have had. It's called Johnny's
Okay.
Seed Company. Yeah, it's a good company that we used when I was going to college,
Okay.
and we use those to make our garden at the school out of.
I think I heard of them, John. Do they have they used to have a book they pass around?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's heirlooms. I think John, they sell heirloom seeds too.
Yes, they do.
Gotcha. Well, let me do this. I'm going to show some of these images of your, and we'll go through and talk through this these slides. Now, here's is this the side of your barn?
Yes.
So basically, if we were to walk up to the front, this would be facing the front of your property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you sell any of your produce?
Yes.
Okay. So people buy on a regular basis then?
Yes, when the market is open, and it usually runs from late April to mid-August.
Wonderful. I want to say hello to Maxine Taylor. She says she's tuning in for the first time, and this is very interesting. Thanks for tuning in, Maxine. And basically, just tell 2,000 of your friends and have them tune in next Monday. Much appreciated. But thanks for tuning in. But so this is wonderful. So let me just go on and look at some of the other. Now, here we see, I think this inside the barn?
Yes, it's inside.
Now, this looks like honey.
It is local.
Do you raise your own bees? I didn't ask you that earlier.
No, I don't raise my own bees. I get that from one of my vendors.
Gotcha. But I see in the back here you've got things in jars. So I'll take it you do your own preserve. We're going to go to a close-up here. Chow, what's that?
It's a cabbage-based relish.
Is it what's in it? I mean, if you don't mind.
It's cabbage and green tomatoes is the base of it. And then you add the other ingredients.
Is this similar to, do you have vinegar? Is this similar to sauerkraut?
No.
Okay. Is this probably sweeter?
Yes, a little sweeter. And it's one of the oldest relish that's been around.
Wow. And then this is moringa, is it? Or
Yes, those are the moringa trees.
Now you were telling me about the moringa trees that you grow. How many moringa trees do you have in your garden now, and what times of the year are they pretty effective?
Those are grown in the greenhouse now because they can't stand the temperature and for right now. So I took them and put them in the greenhouse.
I'm going to ask you about your greenhouse because we have pictures of that later on. Okay. Let's see here. Nicole says lots of varieties meant to grow in south from southern seed exposure. Okay. Let's see the next one here. Now this is, and I'm sorry, it's a little bit on the small side, but you can see a lady standing here. She's maybe 5'7", 5'8", and you see this moringa tree, which is pretty tall. So I guess the average moringa tree grows pretty tall.
Yes, not in this zone. That's why it has to be put in the greenhouse. If it was in the zone 9 through 11, it could grow outside and it could get that tall.
I see. So it's not
native.
So,
yeah.
Oh, I see. You say zone 9 to 11. Yeah. So it's too cold here.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And we put it in the greenhouse and the leaves will fall off, but you take it back out in the spring and the leaves will come back on it and you can continue for it to grow.
Now, y'all what's the coldest temperature that the moringa can tolerate?
35.
35 degrees? Okay. Because I'm thinking, it's significant cold up there in Dallas, Fort Worth, and down here in Houston. So I'm wondering if it would do better here in Houston.
It was one of my friends had a moringa tree that is about that tall in the yard down here in Houston.
Okay.
And now it doesn't look that full because, like you said, it kind of in the winter it slows, and so all the leaves fall and it kind of shrivels. But it's tall, and then in the spring it'll come back out.
Come back to life, yes.
So the difference, y'all are just north enough for us and cold enough to where you have to kind of shift it between the greenhouse and the outdoors, depending on the time of the year. Now, here you have lemongrass.
Yes.
I've never grown lemongrass, and I've never seen fresh lemongrass. So this is an experience for me. Now, the lemongrass, that grows straight from the ground, or do you have to put that in the greenhouse?
It can grow from the ground. It can stand 32 degrees, but not for a long period of time. You have to cover it up in the winter. If it's, in the winter time, if it gets 32 or below and stays there for a long time.
Gotcha. Now, have y'all had some freezing weather up in Fort Worth yet?
Yes, we had 30 degrees after Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we didn't get that low.
Yeah, we got 30 and got 28 one morning.
Okay. So yep. That's about, those cold fronts, they don't dip down as low. Sometimes they'll get north part of Houston, but not come below 610. So quite interesting. Veronica just got a yard here in Houston's trying to learn how to grow here. So this is will be a wonderful show for her. Now, what is this?
It's not a picture, but it's a pot of herbs.
Yep. Okay. And yes, this look like it's inside your barn.
Yes.
And then, of course, you have seeds. What kind of seeds are these?
Those are the moringa seeds.
Wow. They look pretty big.
They are.
And lavender.
Lavender.
Yep, I've had some lavender for. So you have lots of herbs here and more moringa. Now, here's the greenhouse. Tell me about the greenhouse. Who built your greenhouse?
A company called Hitson and Son.
Okay, so they build greenhouses?
Yes, they do.
So what are the, basically it looks like a wood frame building with glass around. Is that pretty much all there is to it?
No, actually, that is cedar, and it's the poly glass. It's not glass itself. It's the poly.
Sort of polyurethane.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Glass is just too hot for Texas.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then we get a lot of hailstorms, and it's dangerous to have a glass greenhouse.
Miss Hill, I would like to know your what do you use as your soil? Where's your source of soil?
I amend my soil.
Say that one more time.
I amend my soil. I do my amendments. I add different stuff to my soil, compost.
Okay.
And nutrients to my soil myself.
And you tell me which nutrients, because I'm just trying to get my trying to learn for my next season. Because I'm finding that the soil and the nutrients in the soil is very important. So, and then there's so many different types of soils at the store to purchase. And so, what would be your recommendation?
I wouldn't recommend any soil from a store to buy. Now, going to a place that sell it by the what I'm trying to say, the yard. You go buy a yard of compost mixed, and then you amend it with your compost, and you can add your leaves and your all your waste from your kitchen is good to add. Your eggshells, your coffee grinds, worms. Okay. You just add that to it and just keep amending it and get it to where you want it to be. But some parts of the country have the good sandy loam, and that's the best soil to grow in.
Sandy loam?
Yeah, sandy loam.
What makes that so good?
Because it holds just enough water for a good drainage.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too heavy that the minerals and the nutrients in it don't leach out. So it holds in the minerals.
Gotcha. So you want your soil to be able to hold moisture and minerals.
Yes, because you don't want to add a lot of minerals and stuff to your soil. You want it to kind of make it on its own through photosynthesis.
Now that's an important point you make, and that makes you think of what we do with patients and things in terms of, giving vitamin supplements versus having them extract the vitamins from the food. So you're saying something similar to that with the soil. You say you want the soil to make its own minerals and nutrients as opposed to having to add it.
Yes.
So kind of share with us how, what is that? I guess you got worms, you got other vegetables that are mixed in there. What is that process? Is that it just kind of degrades other things and takes what it needs?
It takes what it needs, because plants need the same thing that humans need. They need proteins, they need carbohydrates, they need sunlight, they need calcium. They need all of that to make a good vegetable or plant to grow.
Wonderful. And
now, another quick question about the soil, because that's quite interesting to me. I've been watching some people around me start larger gardens, and they get the manure from a farm up north somewhere. But when the manure first comes, it's hot.
Yeah.
And so it has to sit for like a week or two to cool down. So what can you explain to me what is happening during that time when it is heated? And then how do you know when it's cool enough to spread and now plant so that you don't burn the seeds?
When you don't get your manure and plant directly into it, you compost it in, mix it in with the other soil that you already have.
Okay.
It will burn the plants. That's why when you get manure, you mix it in, and certain plants can take certain kind of manure too. Like chicken manure is really hot. It's good, but it's hot, and you can't put it directly on plants. You have to mix it in. Rabbit manure is one of the best.
Mm.
Wow, I never thought of the manure type. I mean, is it something in the rabbit's bowel versus the chicken bowel? I guess. I mean, of course, they have different gut, different microbes.
Right.
I guess the microbiome of the rat versus the chicken.
Yes, the rabbit.
The rabbit versus the chicken, yeah. Of course, the rabbit is plant-based, so it's going to have higher quality manure anyway. We should know that, right? So that's So anyway, so another picture of the greenhouse. This is just a beautiful greenhouse. I'm jealous. I need to get. Do you recommend? I mean, granted, if you have the space and the budget, I guess you'd recommend getting a greenhouse in this time because that allows you to grow things year round.
Year round, yes.
That's amazing. And now the thing is, are the plants getting the right UV light? Because I'm thinking that even though it's clear glass or polymer here, I'm thinking it's blocking some of the UV out. I mean, what is that?
Well, it's getting enough.
Okay.
In the summertime and late spring, if you don't have enough shade trees around your greenhouse, you have to put a shade cover over it because it can get too hot.
Okay. So basically, if you build your greenhouse, you probably need a retractable shade to help it keep it cool. Now, do you have a thermostat in there to measure the temperature? You have to be on top of the temperature, or you just kind of gauge it based on feel?
I have a thermostat in there.
So
they can stand 45 degrees.
I'm sorry?
Plants can stand 45 degrees.
Gotcha. But on the hot side, you don't want to get it hotter than what, 90?
Oh,
95?
No, probably 70.
70. Gotcha. Wow, this is very impressive here.
So let me squeeze in another question.
Oh, go ahead.
in a greenhouse, I never thought about it until I'm looking at it right now, but what are the pollinators? How do you make sure that that process is happening?
Well, the plants, it would determine the plants that you want to grow, because certain plants pollinate themselves.
Okay.
I was thinking you'd leave like a little trap door for the bees to fly under. Wow. You know, this is impressive, Ms. Hill. So basically you grow produce year round, and you, of course, teach or answer lots of questions to your neighbors and what have you. And again, our clients and our listeners, many of them are, some are tuning in for the first time. And a lot of the patients I see, I'm always trying to get them to go into gardening. Obviously, you made the great point earlier, is that you know what you're getting compared to what you're getting in the supermarket. Are you aware of any issues with the food in the supermarket?
Oh, yes.
What are some of the things? Because I hear like they freeze some of the food, they gas it, they do all sorts of things. They harvest things from far away because they try to keep everything in season. And so you're getting food that's been gassed or frozen or whatever the case may be. What are some of the stories you've heard?
Well, they pull the fruit early and keep it in a cold storage for it to ripen. And that's why the fruit and vegetables don't have flavor.
Gotcha.
Because they're not stayed on the vine or the tree long enough to mature from the nourishments from the plant or the tree it came from. Yeah.
Now I know they accelerate the ripening process, and also the nutritional value too. I imagine the nutritional value is probably not as good by harvesting that early as well. I've been told that they spray some of the plants with wax and different things to keep the bugs off. So, it's a lot of things that we're dealing with. And, we try to encourage people to eat plant-based, but, there's a big question mark as to the quality of the plants that you're getting from the produce section. So it's quite a question. What parting words do you want to leave with our audience as we sign off on the first half? This has been a great session. I really enjoyed watching the beautiful stuff. And the next time you're in the Houston area, look us up. I'll text you. You have some of my numbers. I'll text you some information as well. But what are some of the parting words? You're getting lots of accolades here. Some of the people are really excited about what you're sharing. What parting words do you like to leave? Words of encouragement for our audience and who's people who are trying to get started or the like.
Well, I would encourage anybody that like to eat clean to grow your own food, because you know what you're eating and it's better for you, number one, and you can get a lot more nutritions and everything that you need from the plant itself. And some plants you can eat the whole plant. That's the stem, the fruit, and the leaves.
Wow.
There's no waste to some plants.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, Ms. Hill, we will certainly be in touch. Fort Worth is not too far from Houston. I have your number, and I'll certainly be added to your list of people who's asking you a lot of questions, because I've got some stuff in my backyard, and so I'll be in touch, and we'd like to work together sometime in the not too distant future. Thank you very much.
I will be in Houston the last weekend of January, and if anybody need any consulting done, I can leave my name and number, and they can give me a call.
Okay, I'll do that. And in fact, I have some of your information. What I can do is after the show, I'll text you and get some of your information, and we'll make it available in the chat room as well.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you very much. We're going to go to a station break. And when we come back, we'll be talking to Karina Polk, a local gardener. So stay tuned, everybody. All right, everybody, that was great. So Ms. Hill gave us a lot of insight from the perspective of someone who does gardening at home. She's grew up and gardening is like second nature to her. And so, it's hard for a lot of us who are getting into it, new, to get insight and to do all the wonderful things that she's doing. I mean, with, a greenhouse and the like. But it's very doable. And as she said, she eats more than half of her produce from a garden, which makes for a very healthy diet. So this is something we're going to continue to encourage along the way. So without further ado, I want to bring in our next guest, bring Celeste back on stage. Hello again, Celeste. Hello. So Karina Pope is someone that we both know here in Houston. And Karina, in her bio, she said she started gardening about 6 years ago. And now she managed Let Us Live Urban Farm located in Missouri City, Texas. It's about a 1/4 acre. And she has about 21 raised beds and they're about 21 feet long. Now, the question she poses, how did I get from zero gardening to where I am today? She likes to say I started like everyone else. I started from the ground up, unintended. But in 2012, with no garden experience, she built her first garden for a client in Memphis, Tennessee. She didn't have any gardening skills at the time. And I love this about Karina. She just went after it. But she did have contacts at United Healthcare, Walmart, and Memphis Grizzlies. And they helped her connect with people who donated materials, labor, and she built the first garden. In 2014, Athena Healthcare hired her to build a garden on a 1/4 acre of land. And she started getting interested in growing food at that time. So that year, she decided to become a master gardener through the Fort Bend AgriLife Extension. So Karina is a local gardener, and I know a person who worked with her, and I want to invite her on. Karina, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm great.
Wonderful. So, you do a lot, and I'm going to share some information in a minute, let you share your screen with us. But, this is quite interesting. You got into gardening 6 years ago, and you just kind of took it by storm. I mean, you just, day one, you didn't know anything. It's like, okay, I'm going to build a garden. So get some contacts, get some people, get some wood, boom, boom, boom.
It started with the conversation when I had a client. At the time, he was the head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. And we were looking for a way to impact an area that had lots of crime, lots of teenage pregnancy. We wanted something that was lasting. So we talked, and he's into health, of course, athletics. I was into health. I, at the time, was on a plant-based diet as well. And we met a gentleman that was the VP at United Healthcare. And we started talking. We're like, okay, why don't we build a garden? Let's see how that works. And things just fell into place. It was one thing after another. And that community grabbed a hold of that idea, and they went from 0 to 10 in no time. First, they had the students come up with a name. They decided on a name called the Paradise Garden. After they came up with the name, they started selling basil. I reached out to the farmers market in the area, and the farmers market donated some space for the kids to sell. A bank donated about $1,000 for them to start a small business. A culinary arts school got involved and started doing cooking classes with the students and the families. And it was just one thing after another. And then I was like, okay, this is what one community looks like. And then two, this is replicable. I could do it again and again and again in different cities. And so that's how Let Us Live started.
Wow. So I guess you could say it grew on you.
There you go. It grew on me.
Anyway, so enough of my crazy puns. I'm going to go ahead and put some your slides up. You got to share some information with us. So as we go through this, you have 21 beds in the area, and you also do have classes, and so there's a professional component, and you also do consulting as well. As we start through, show us some of your garden and kind of tell us about your the educational part of your business, and then the consulting part of your business. What do you offer?
So we offer an online class. Everything is virtual, so you don't have to be located in Houston. But we have an edible gardening masterclass, and we answer a lot of the questions that you all were discussing. Companion planting, the difference between soil and compost. Where do I get started? How much space do I need? How much sunlight? If you have no idea where to get started, this is a class for you. If you have a little knowledge and you're like, okay, what about pest control? What are some design ideas? This class is also for you. It's online and you have access to the material. Lifelong, you continue to have access to that information. I can't wait to move forward because we discussed a couple of things that you all tapped on.
Well, feel free, just go through your slides and feel free. We're just going to take a tour with you. You just take us where you think we need to go.
Okay, so this is our farm here. We're the 21 raised beds. And again, growing is about community. And
I'm sorry, Karina, one little point there I want to make. There's a problem with this photograph. You're wearing boots. Barefoot.
Very good point. And I do want to mention this. I'm glad. Let me just go ahead and segue into that point.
Go ahead. So, I'm sorry. You don't have to pick at you.
No, this is a good point, which is grounding. If you can, the difference between being in a large space, backyard, that's one of the biggest thing is being able to have direct soil. Here we have, what I'm standing on is crushed granite and small rocks. And so if you're in your backyard and you have a backyard garden, look up grounding. It's very important, and you should walk outside barefoot as often as possible. One of the, as you know, a lot of things that contribute to some of our health is those rubber shoes that we wear with the rubber soles. That created a whole lot of problems. If you all want to look more into it, it's called grounding. And it's no different than you grounding the electricity that's going through your home. It's the same thing. And for me, gardening is the same as people, human. You need the same things as our previous guest talked about. Is we need sunlight, we need water, we need protein. Plants are the same way. And so when you're growing, if you can think about a human, then you can grow more successfully, in my opinion. So this is our 20. We have 21 raised beds. We use cedar. And key is, if you're going to use wood, don't use treated wood, because whatever you put in whatever touches your soil will leach into your soil, which then would leach into your food. We use cedar. It's a natural repellent. And it lasts a long time. So it lasts a lot longer if you use cedar. And then let's see, let me go. Here we go. My motto is growing food helps grow healthy families and community. These are some of our volunteers at the garden. And again, healthy communities, healthy families. In my backyard, I was growing more food than my family and I could eat. And so I pulled up everything and moved it to the front yard, pulled out my shrub and dropped a 40-gallon horse watering trough in the front yard. And then now my neighbors come and they eat and they take whatever they want. So now I have my own community garden sort of in my front yard. But I think it's important. Once you start growing, you want to share. And to Celeste's point, the food doesn't taste the same. Everything tastes differently. It looks differently. And so I encourage people just kind of get started where they are. We did a project here. Yes, that's growing food is like printing your own money.
I like that.
Ron Finley, the gangster gardener, says that all the time. It is printing your own money. When people were running around trying to figure out who's going to take the last tomato at the store when we first got quarantined, I wasn't worried about it. My family wasn't worried about it. We went outside and we had our own fresh vegetables and herbs.
You know, I don't say, I want to make a comment. You know, this is a nice statement, and Veronica, and we can look at it as being cute, but this is actually a very profound statement, because if you really look at it, I mean, you know, let's say you got a wallet and you got $20, and my CPA used to make this point all the time. He said, well, you know, you pull a 20 out of 5, say, what is this? I said, okay, it's, you know, $5 bill or $1 bill. And he said, yeah, and then he said, you know, what is it worth? And really the cash and money we throw around in and of itself is worthless. Now it represents something as an exchange. Right. So here's $20 for, you know, some lettuce or whatever the case is. But the real substance of value is lettuce. And so if you break down our basic human needs, we need, you know, food, shelter, and safety. Those are the main things. And so the basic essence of our need, one of the main ones is right here that what we're talking about. So growing your own food and printing your money, that's a very profound statement, but it's very true. And I never thought of it that way. It's never, thank you very much, Veronica. I don't remember you being on the show previously, but that's a great comment.
She's been there previously.
She's been there. Okay, my apologies. But that's a wonderful statement. I looked at it and I saw it and I laughed at it, but the more I think about it, it's very profound. And we need to get back to that, because you know, as Ms. Hill said earlier, the food, we don't know what's in it at the supermarket. And you get better quality food. Better quality food means better quality us and better quality lives and the like. So I don't want to go on, but that statement was very profound.
And to your point is, if we want, I think one of the requirements for underserved communities, I think they really need to go back to growing their own food. It is more community based. So if we're in an apartment complex and I grow the tomatoes, Celeste grows the peppers, and you grow some herbs, we have a meal. Or you grow the lettuce or the cauliflower.
I want to go.
We have kale. We have a whole meal together, and we can swap. And we're not concerned about walking 5 miles or catching the bus, but also going back to printing your own money. You're supplementing what you would have to go buy.
Right.
And just like Ms. Hill said, we're not getting nutrient dense food. She mentioned you don't know how long the food has been out of the ground. You don't know where it came from. And many farmers will tell you this. Many small farmers will tell you the organic label is a money game. Many of us are growing organically, but if you can't afford to pay for that label, you can't use the name. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you are organic. You know, you've paid, it's just like every other game. You've paid to play the game, and so you are considered organic. And if you don't grow your own food, you should really consider buying locally. Why should you buy locally? Because we are, and Doc, you can speak to this. I'm eating vegetables. I'm eating the right foods. My health isn't changing. Why don't I feel better? Well, you can eat all the vegetables from the grocery store you want, but if they've been out of the ground 2 to 3 weeks and then in your refrigerator for a week or so, it's depleted of most of the nutrients. And so that's why you're not feeling any different. And that's why your health isn't changing. So buying locally, you're getting more nutrient dense foods. Those foods have not been harvested as long. They hadn't been trucked in, they hadn't been gassed in. I recently learned that garlic that they sell in the store, if it comes from China, they bleach the garlic. It's concerning. And as long as we don't have, as long as we're not on, the government isn't paying for our health care, there's no reason for them to, they want us to stay sick. It benefits them.
Karina, I have something to kind of throw in there too. I also tell my patients a lot of people are dealing with difficulties with allergy. And the allergy medication and allergy are major. And now people are having allergies year round. So what I tell them, if you don't eat from the earth, then you will be allergic to the earth, because you're supposed to eat pollinated foods that are local to our area. Now, obviously, we can't do that with everything, but if you get a little bit of the local pollen, and some people do it with doing honey, and that's the concept. But you don't have to use honey. You can use our local plants. It will help the body to recognize these pollens, such that when we get a large release during the change of seasons, now your body doesn't overreact to the pollen that's being released into the environment.
Wow.
Yes, great point. And one of the earlier shows, you all were talking about vitamin D not being a vitamin. I remember that show, and we were talking about, when I first started, I talked about how plants are the same as humans. You need 6 to 8 hours. We need sunlight. Plants need sunlight. And so if you do the same thing for your plants and vice versa, we grow together. We have to grow together.
Yeah, the thing is that Nicole likes if you don't eat from the ground. Here's the thing. I like the point about, and you made the point, Ms. Hill made the point, we need what the plants need. I never thought about it in that regard. And if we're outgrowing our food, we're sort of harmonizing with the plants. Now, I don't sing in my plants or anything like that. They'd probably die if they heard me sing.
Mine would too.
But the point is that being out in the garden, I remember a morning after I worked out with the trainer. I work out in the backyard, barefoot T-shirts. It's a little cold. If it's above 50 degrees, no shoes. Below 50 degrees, below 50 is shoes. But anyway, I remember one morning after workout, I had some time before I had to go to the office. So I had some plants that I bought to get them in the ground. So I got the plants and, no shoes. I went to my raised beds and I was on my hands and knees and my hands were getting dirty and I was listening to my music on my phone and speaker. And it was just such a serene experience. And just being out there, I felt so much more energized and, it was really therapeutic. We did talk about grounding. There's data on being around green trees. I think there's a multifactorial effect. We call it a pleiotropic effect if you're talking about a medication. But being outdoors I think there are many things that we can't quantify benefits as a result of being outdoors. And so it's just an amazing thing. And so I think gardening is a very healthy exercise. And your hands are getting dirty. That's one thing we can talk about, the B12 as well.
And to your point, there's horticulture therapy. That is something that should be considered as well. I volunteer over at one of the local hospitals here, and I conduct horticulture therapy with the therapist. And so it is therapeutic. There is healing in the earth. There's healing in plants. There's healing in connecting. They're healing in the plants. And so, yes, when you were saying that you felt energized, that goes back to the grounding and connecting directly with the earth. And I want to segue into, oftentimes people are like, I can't grow. I don't have the space. Containers, you can grow just about everything you want in a container. At home, I grow everything in a container. And I do that because I don't want to grow directly into the soil, because our HOA maintains the lawn. And because they maintain the lawn, I don't know what they're putting in the soil.
Yeah.
So I do everything in pots. You can absolutely do everything in pots. You just want to remember, whatever your growing medium is made out of, if it touches the soil, it leaches into your food. So just be careful of what you're growing. But yes, grow in foods. Grow in plants.
Now, here's a quick question on permaculture and aquaponics. This person would like to grow year-round with or without soil. So what are your thoughts on aquaponics and permaculture, but aquaponics in particular?
So aquaponics, for me, it's not an area that I see myself going into, because you have to learn about fish, and you have to learn about plants. You know, if your fish, if the water system is messed up, then your whole operations could be shut down. It's beneficial. It's a growing medium. I say grow. As long as you're growing, good. In whatever way you do, if you're growing your own food, I have no objection to it.
I have a preference for dirt myself. What do you think, Celeste?
Definitely dirt. I mean, I well, you know me. I'm more trying to stay in line with what nature and what the universe has put here for us to do. And so, just by nature, we are to grow in the soil.
Well, to that point, you know, there are a number of plants that do grow in water, in marshy areas, and you know, the things that are important, like I have to have kelp. You know, that's a part of my regular diet.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I am of the opinion, or for my personal self, growing in the soil works best for me. But again, I think the goal is to get out, get growing. If you can grow either way, it's better than not growing at all. But I agree with you. For me personally, soil is the way that I'm going to go. But for those that are interested in aquaponics or hydroponics, you know, they're adding liquid fertilizer to hydroponics. They're adding liquid fertilizer to the water, and then with aquaponics, you know, you're getting it from the fish and whatever they add to the water. I say get out, get growing. Not my first option, just because there's so much for me to learn more about plants and pest controls and growing different type of herbs that I've just not gone down that route.
Here's Celeste, I want you to bring that, Karina, bring that image of the cistern. We looked at it earlier. And while you look for that, Nicole Caldwell said she has a hydroponic indoor system called Let Us Grow. Just something what she have outdoors, and she admits she just loved having the veggies around in the house too. So it asks for indoors, so it can be some beauty there. And like you point out, Karina, just growing it, and if it's supplementing what you're growing outdoors, I think that works pretty well too.
And actually, before you go, Karina, there's a commercial I've seen recently where they have this little contraption that can grow indoors, and it doesn't need sunlight, and it doesn't need soil, and you know, it's a cute commercial, and they're advertising it for the holidays. But you know, I would be cautious of those type of things, because the point is we're trying to eat the sun.
Yep.
You know, figuratively, of course, but we're trying to get the energy of the sun into our bodies. So you know, you kind of miss the whole point when you do these cute little things.
Not agree with you. Yeah, the plants, we need what the plants need, and they need what we need. There's a lot of comment on aquaponics may work for people who don't have the space, condos, and I think that's true. But I think if you were to go and get pots, heated pots, planted pots, you can put them in your backyard, so you can't avoid that. That's nice too. You have those stand up. This is something that can grow on a patio.
Yes, it's not about space. Yeah, you can grow in all pots. You can grow vertically. People on the East Coast are growing on rooftops. I think they have a few places here as well. But I agree with Celeste. You know, the key is we need to get outside, and there are a lot of really quick fixes for everything. If you don't want to exercise, you know, take a pill. If you don't want to you know, walk outside, you sit on your sofa and pedal the little thing. I mean, they have it all, but it is not, it's really more harmful to us. And we got to get outside. We got to get fresh air. We've got to connect with our neighbors. You know, I think that human connection is important as well. So yeah, I agree with you, Celeste.
Yeah. And
You
so
gotta be one.
everybody's agreeing with Celeste. There you go. Nobody's agreeing with me. That's all right. I'll get you. So anyway, these are beautiful beds. My goodness, they're just this is amazing stuff. Now I still want to see that cistern before
I'm trying to get to it without having to stop sharing because I don't know.
Oh, that's amazing. And if you need to go and look at the slides, that's fine. You want to
yeah, I don't know how to. I guess I'd have to stop sharing and then.
Yeah, just go to your. It doesn't matter. We're a family show.
Okay.
We'll look at all your work slides, but no, that's so. While you're looking at for people who are not aware of cistern, that's one of my dream things to have. And you can buy them all different sizes, but it allows you to collect rainwater. You can collect it off your roof, and one of your slides had a beautiful picture of a cistern. It made me think about it again. So one of these days, one of my dream things to do is to get cisterns around my house, and what have you. So
and don't forget that the city of Houston, I mean, they're not the beautiful ones, but they have the black ones that you can get at a discounted rate in Houston.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Cisterns, or are you talking about rainwater?
Rainwater collector. Rainwater.
Yeah, this one is a little bit different. You're talking about rainwater barrels. Yeah, it's oftentimes you can find those at no cost.
How big are they? They're really big?
No, they're just those
Those small ones.
I would say about 4 feet, Karina. You think?
Yeah, maybe. They're you see them, they're
Yeah, the one you had in your slide is
here it is.
Longest. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a very nice size there. And it looks like you've got pipes running off and it's spewing from a gutter system. Is that correct?
Yes, this one is not mine. It's local, but this one isn't mine. But yeah, so the rainwater, there you can see up here where it's coming off the gutter and then it runs down here. And then you have it running into the tank here. So you can connect a hose down here and you see there's a drip line. So there's a hose here and then there's that drip line. So it's watering that entire area.
Now, let me ask you, people talk about acid rain and various other pollutants in the air. Do you need to filter the water coming off the rain?
Filter it to what? To drink it or to
for the garden? I mean, it's
no.
Somebody asked me that question. I'm going to ask you.
Okay. No. So at the top, this is covered, so the rain doesn't get in there, and it keeps the debris out. So all the debris and everything is out of it.
Okay, so basically you filter the debris, but you don't have to filter it. I mean, rainwater is rainwater. I mean, it does have some pollutants in it. So somebody asked if that's steel. That is steel, is it?
Yes.
Okay. And so Shonda H, I think I'll just throw some seeds in the dirt I have when I try to grow something. It doesn't work yet. Some things just start growing on their own. I guess it just hit or miss.
No, it's never hit or miss.
All right, help Shonda out. What's going on?
Shonda, it's not hit or miss. It is all if we think about gardening like we do life, it's all about timing. If you are trying to grow cucumbers in December, it will never happen. And you will think you just don't have a green thumb or you're terrible. Cucumbers grow in the heat. They grow in the summertime. So figure out if you send me a message on Let Us Live, TTUCE Live on Facebook or on Instagram, I'll send you a plant guide for your area. It's about planting for your area and your time. If you are trying to grow lettuce in August, it'll never happen. Lettuce grows in the wintertime. It likes cold weather. So you really need to know the season that you're in, and the location. Everything is about timing. And our edible gardening masterclass, that's what we go over. I send you all a growing sheet for your area. I give you what you can grow, when you can grow. And yes, letuslive.org is the website. And you can find us on Let Us Live on Instagram or on Facebook. But if you DM me, I'll be happy to send you a guide for your area. Just mention you saw me on the show. So and the other thing is, check the date on your seed packets. I have a seed packet here. Let me see. You want to make sure on the back of your seeds there are dates, and if they're expired, then you're not going to, your seeds aren't going to germinate. So that's the other thing, is look at the date. They have expiration dates on them. This says 2017, probably won't germinate. Need to throw it out. And it's just like, again, talk about human. It has a location, same thing that medicine has. So there you go. Know what you're growing and grow within your season. Make sure your seeds are not expired. And then you want to get 6 to 8 hours of sun. Let me get to that slide. You want to get
web address and number that's on the web page in the chat, and also it's scrolling at the bottom. If y'all want to reach out to Karina, she is a wealth of knowledge. And I'll also make Ms. Hill's information available in the chat, also in the notes later on in the publication as well.
Yeah, so I think oftentimes we talk about we can't grow, and honestly, I just think it really boils down to growing in the wrong season. Know what you can grow, and I think anybody can grow. My cucumbers did not pollinate. I even tried to pollinate on my own. I do not have a planting guide. I'm in Houston. All of my cucumbers were female. Did you have flowering plants around pollinators? Did you have flowers that attracted bees and butterflies? That would be the next question.
She also took heed to your comment on the seeds also. So the seeds.
I thought I could. Yeah. I am not of the opinion that you should rush and try to self-pollinate. You know, I see people getting a little brush and they get some from another plant. It just seems kind of, to each his own. That seems like, again, we're doing too much manipulating. We're doing too much manipulating. You can thrive and you can manipulate so far, and then you start having all these problems. The same with health. You can manipulate. But I think if you have the right ecosystem, the right environment, then your things will grow. So you have to take all those things in consideration.
So, Karina, as we get ready to sign off, what are the parting words? What are your final words for our audience? Some people are doubtful, or whatever the case is. What again, same question I asked for Ms. Hill. If I'm some stranger walking up and say, why should I garden? What's your best elevator pitch or sales to that person who's stepping?
I'm going to say the same thing that Ms. Hill said, that I think that everyone should be growing something. Why? Because you don't know how far your food has come in. We don't know where it came from, what it was grown in. And so if you can know where your food comes from and it doesn't travel as far, you're more likely to have more nutrients in your food. I also think that if you want to take control of your health, and if you want to take control of your family's health, you need to be growing your own food. And for me, I think for my community, I owe it to my community. I owe it to my family to grow my own food. Again, our Edible Garden Masterclass, I think, equips you. You don't have to worry about the size. Start with herbs. If you're kind of apprehensive, start with a small amount of herbs. I did, and I know we're wrapping up, but I got a basket full of. So these are those moringa pods that Miss Hill was showing. This is what they grow in. They're drums, and so they hang from the tree. I'm growing medicine in my own backyard. These are loofahs. I don't know if the sponges that we take a bath with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this is when it's smaller, it's an edible. It's in the cucumber family. It's smaller and it's edible when it's small, but when it gets this big, and to give you an idea of how big it is.
Wow. Yeah.
So this becomes a sponge to wash your dishes. Nature provides us with everything. And so here it is when it's smaller. This is the edible size. Like I said, it's in the cucumber family. And then I am also, this is my turmeric. I was able to grind with just a little bit of turmeric. I was able to grind this much turmeric powder.
Wow.
And this came from the garden. I have some dried sorrel, which is really good for your blood and detoxing. So I dried that. And then I have lemons and peppers. But the reason I'm showing you this is because I'm growing medicine for my family. I'm growing medicine for my community, turmeric, ginger, moringa, borage, yarrow, all of these herbs that help us in the time like this that we need. I am curing loofah gourds now. They are starting to rot though. DM me and I'll ask you about the rotting process. If you should let them dry on the vine. I wouldn't pull them off. If you've already pulled them off, peel it and let it air dry out in the sun, and it should not rot.
Wow.
Dry it that way.
Well, I'll tell you, this has been a wealth of information. We will always go over when the topic is very important. Karina, thank you very much. Ms. Hill, thank you very much. I know you're backstage. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close out, and then I will bring you guys back after we close out. Thank you very much. Just as always, I learned a lot. Take care. Everybody give Karina and Ms. Hill a digital round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Well, okay, so we have it wrapped up here, another Monday evening. And what I wanted to do is give you a flavor of what it is gardening from two different perspectives. There are many perspectives, as you know, you may have heard us talk about. Some people in the online, many of you online gave us some of your insight, your experiences, some successful, some not. But what I want to encourage everyone to do is think very hard. Growing our food is really important. It's not about whether, say, I have a green thumb or don't have a green thumb. You know, one of the listeners very wisely pointed out, it's like printing money. You know, many of us work very hard, jobs or businesses. We work in schools, future careers. We spend a lot of time and effort going after money. Maybe we're retired and we save our money, et cetera. But one thing I notice with a lot of my patients, they come to the office and I'll try to encourage them to eat healthier. But they said, well, you know, I can't afford this, you know. And I said, well, look, just wear cheaper shoes. I say that in a flippant manner, but I really mean it in ways because, you know, what we put in our mouths is more important than what we put on our feet. And some of the things that we wanted to convey tonight is that some of the best things that you can get to put in your mouth is the things that you use your hand and your feet to grow. And so, again, I want to encourage many of you, granted, I understand many of you don't have green thumbs, and this is very foreign, you know, information to you. That's fine. You can start with a potter plant, some dirt in a pot, and put seeds there, let something grow. Start there, and then build from there. We don't expect you to be not culinary, but gardening experts. But we do hope that you really take this seriously. And even if you can't grow it yourself, as our guest experts explain, get it locally, get it regionally, because it's going to be much better for you than just getting out of the supermarket. So nobody should live in a food desert. As long as there's dirt somewhere near you, you start there. So with all of that, I want to encourage you to keep it fresh, natural, and live until we see you next week. Next Monday, we're going to do a recap, a look back at 2020. 2020 has been quite an amazing year. So we're going to look back at some of the health issues we've dealt with, the medical topics. We're also going to look back at our first season here at Fresh Natural Live. So we're going to bring some snippets for some previous shows and a recap on what we learned in 2020. So until then, keep it fresh, natural, and live. Thank you very much for joining us.